I love Pokemon, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Hey everybody, Nick from Just Nast Science, and today we're talking about some Pokemon that are just biologically impossible. And I know what you're gonna say, Nick, it's a video game meant for children. Why are you being such a dick? And the answer is because, well, just because it's a game or just because it's a world of magic doesn't mean it can't have some plausibility to it, right? Can't have some elements of realism. And also, I'm bored and have nothing else to do, so here we go. I recently just got into Sword and Shield, and I mean within like 2 weeks ago. So I'm just now discovering a lot of the Galar region Pokemon and also just a lot of other ones from generations I never played. I'm mostly a Gen 1er. But the issues I'm going to talk about with these 5 types of Pokemon, and I'm going to name some specific ones, isn't limited to just anything outside of Gen 1. Gen 1 does have some of these issues as well. So we're going to go over this in, top 5, working our way from 5 to 1, with 5 being more real or plausible than number 1 is. And so number 5 are plants that have become sentient. And there's a lot of these, particularly in the grass and poison types. But the idea that a plant is just going to suddenly have a face and start walking around and doing things and show you affection and follow commands is ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some crazy plants out there that things like Vileplume and Weeping Bell, for example, are based on, but that doesn't mean that they, can do attacks and listen to commands and all. Anyway, so that's number 5, but specifically in Pokemon Sword and Shield, the ones that I find the least believable, at least biologically or scientifically, however you want to call it, are the Cherrim line Pokemon. So Cherrim and Cherubi. It's just a cherry. And I guess that kind of falls into the next category, which is food. So food is pretty low on this list simply because, well, food is made with things that either were alive or come from living things. So, this you can kind of work around it somehow, probably, right? I guess. I don't know. But for me, and I hate this Pokemon. Every time I see it, it drives me nuts, and I refuse to catch it because of how ridiculous it is. And that is the Villanix or Vanillox line. So Vanillox, Vanillish, and Vanillite. I love vanilla ice cream as much as anybody. In fact, when I was a kid and the ice cream truck would come around, I was always getting a double cone, which probably my parents should have done something about. But that doesn't, just because I really like vanilla ice cream, does not mean that this makes for a good Pokemon. I mean, it's a vanilla cone, for God's sake. Like, what were they thinking? And I get it. It's tough to come up with new Pokemon. It's really challenging to come up with 800 unique different Pokemon, let alone, ones that look cool and have, fit types that you need and are balanced proper. All this, there's a bunch of things that go into it, and I get it. I can't even create 8 Pokemon, let alone 800. That's not the point. I'm not getting paid a lot of money to design characters and all this kind of stuff for a major company like the Pokemon Company, Niantic, Game Freak, whoever, we're talking about here. I don't do that. And if I did, I like to think it'd be better than just a vanilla ice cream cone that somehow has a mouth and eyes and does things. Like, what does it eat? Does it eat itself? Like, that would be buck wild. Has anybody established what Vanillox eats? Is it itself? That would be, oh boy. Number 3 are possessed objects. They are just things in the world that somehow are now Pokemon, because I guess you can make the argument that a ghost inhabited it, right? Or some things like Clay Doll, for example, was a doll that was used for like rituals or whatever, or whatever they did, and it got imbued with psychic powers, and then now here it is. And I'm more okay with that than, say, Aegislash or Doublade or Honedge. And the reason why is because at least when Claydol evolves, or what Baltoy evolves into Claydol rather, it just gets bigger for the most part, right? Like I'm fine, right? It's silly, but I can buy it a little. Aegislash line I cannot buy because it starts off as a single ghost sword. So it's a possessed sword. And then it evolves and now it's two swords, which again, I can kind of get behind a little bit. But then when it evolves for the final time, it's now just one sword and also a shield. And it's like, wait, what is, like, it went from sword, two swords, sword and shield. And it just, I don't like that segue or transition. It doesn't work, right? And we're going to talk about in another video some of the worst or biggest offenders of biology in terms of evolution, because there's a lot of that. And this is one of them, even though swords don't evolve. If you wanted to make the argument that, like, it just picks up more swords, like it gets stronger and it can possess more things. Now it's 3 spinning flying swords instead of just one. Cool. All right, I can get behind that. But anyway, gone on long enough about Aegislash. Number 2 are inanimate objects. And I put this above possessed objects. And I know it sounds like they're really similar, and I'm kind of nitpicking here, but the difference is at least the ones that are possessed are usually ghost type. So you can make the argument that a spirit of some kind inhabited this object, and now it's obeying the commands of its trainer. It's a little silly, because if you're a ghost, why would you listen to a 10-year-old kid? But anyway, at least there's some logic or some like fantasy element that makes sense. Inanimate objects like the Klinkang line, I even like struggle saying it because it bothers me that much. This is another line of Pokemon I just will not catch, and as a result, never finish the Pokedex, but honestly, fine. The Klinkang, Clang, and Klink line are ridiculous. It's a gear. It's a gear, and now it's more gears, and then the third evolution is even more gears, which I know I just said in before with the swords, that there was more. And again, the reason why is because at least that was a ghost. It could get stronger, right? Ghostly powers could enhance. What is running these gears, and why do they have faces? What is happening? So it doesn't work, and especially things like Clink or Clang or Klinkang that are just steel types. They're not even like fairy magic or ghost or whatever. At least Klefki and Comfey, you can say they're fairy magic, right? Even though it's a key ring and whatever those things girls wear, raves and whatever. I don't know what those things are called. Festivals. There we go. At least it's a festival crown is what it is. But at least you can say there's some fairy magic happening. Fine. And we're in a world of magic, so I'll elaborate. And that's why they are not on this list, right? They're runners up, but they're not the biggest offenders. And finally, we come to number 1, which is literal trash. And I say that meaning literal trash. Garbodor and Trubbish are just bags of garbage. One of them is a bag of garbage, and the other is just a pile of garbage. And I understand Grimer, Muck, same thing, right? It's just a pile of sludge. But at least in my mind, I know it probably doesn't make sense, but at least Grimer and Muck, you can say it's like, well, it's like radioactive and it's toxic or whatever, and that's why they are the way they are, right? Like it's just a pile of toxic or radioactive sludge that somehow gained life. It's dumb, but fine. Trubbish is just, it looks like somebody brought out their trash and just, it popped up a mouth and eyes and whatever, or at the very least eyes. I don't remember what Trubbish looks like off the top of my head because it's ridiculous. But it gained limbs and eyes, and now all of a sudden it's a thing. Again, it doesn't follow the ghost theme, it's just strictly poison type, which the typing makes sense for trash, but it doesn't make sense for how it's alive or how it's doing things. And then for it to have emotion on top of that is crazy. Garbodor is so much trash has been picked up that the bag just explodes off of it, and now it's just a naked pile of things. And when it Gigantamaxes, you could see like a plane and a train and all this kind of stuff like sticking out of it. I'd imagine that those are toys that people have gotten rid of. It's not like an actual 747 sticking out of it. That would be just the worst. But a little funny. I think that would be kind of funny if they said like, yeah, Gigantamax Pokemon is so big a helicopter just got that would be kind of funny. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode. It was maybe a little bit of a shorter one, but I just wanted to quickly go over the 5 least believable, at least in the terms of biology, Pokemon that exist in Sword and Shield. And yeah, that's it. So if you enjoyed this, don't forget to check out our other videos. Liking and subscribing are the biggest ways you can help us spread this good science. But there's no real science in this video, but you get the idea. You can help us spread and grow and all this kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments below what you think the biggest offender is, or your just in general least favorite Pokemon. For me, it's Vanilluxe. I hate it. I think it's silly, and I wish it never existed. But anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.